Frost, the cold one. Frames come and go, and a lot of the old school veteran frames are pretty split on who remains relevant in the current meta and who fades into obsolescence. Frost is one of those frames that's brought up time and time again as being a bad Warframe, despite seeing little to no changes over the years. But maybe he isn't all that bad. No. Yes, I use the same joke twice within 4 videos. It's my channel and I get to choose how to run it into the ground. Again, Frost really hasn't seen that many direct changes over the years. He is about as faithful as he was day one. A solid defense frame, and while his usage is tapered off to use his contemporaries, Frost isn't nearly as bad as one may be led to believe. There are many other frames much more deserving of a rework. Could he be better? Yeah, of course. Does he fill a role? He has pros and cons compared to those who also share that same role, and his helmets exclusively look like horsecocks.
Frostity Frost is bastity based. He has a use, but gets so much hate. So he is crescent fresh, though he's not the best.
Frost's first ability is Freeze. He freezes things. Unlike the other first elemental abilities, it's probably the weakest. Ember can set things on fire and cause a frenzy as light crowd control. Oberon causes radiation confusion and has scaling damage depending on the HP of the unit that it's used on. Volt chains and helps buffer his ultimate by turning stunned enemies into Tesla coils. Frost just freezes, but he can break his snow globe, so it's pretty much perfect. Cold is also a super underwhelming element. It's almost strictly CC based. I bet you didn't even know that Cold was recently buffed. It now starts at 50% slow instead of 25. Seriously, other synergies need to be added like Oberon's Volts and Embers, otherwise it's just going to be used for popping bubbles and nothing else. Frost's second ability is Heisenberg Surprise, which is pretty damn good all things considered. It's cheap, soft crowd control with high base range of 20 meters, and with the recently buffed Cold, it's actually pretty decent at its job, only using 50 energy. Not really a spam ability, more of a panic button if you're running low on energy. The issue is, in higher level play, this panic button is walled pretty hard by Eximus auras, because as we know, Overguard was the most well thought out and welcome decision in Warframe, and the entire community agrees that it's infallible and perfect, and we just love it. But if I were to have any changes, I would maybe make it so that enemies that were hit by the ice were primed and would take more damage. Either that or would benefit Frost in a way such as giving him more armor per enemy's hit. His 3 is Ball, because Ball is life. Frost's main goal is to hold a point and defend, may it be a defense target or a choke point. His globe is arguably his best skill, scaling its EHP off your power strength and armor. Yes, I did put 2 Umbra form on him. No, I don't know where my father is. And despite all that, this is the skill that most people point to when it comes to Frost being obsolete. But as I said earlier, there are its pros and its cons. Gera doesn't have that top support, and unless you do some finicky jumps to extend your wall, Ospreys and more mobile units like Mutalist Moas and Sentients will just climb right over. However, a nullifier tapping Gera's wall will only make a hole rather than just devouring the whole fucking globe. This makes Frost's ability more expensive in the long run because of having to recast it to repair it, replace it, or strengthen it. It can be more stable of a defensive ability, but only if you are spatially aware and have the energy pads or efficiency to back it up. Simply allowing Frost to cast his bubble on a moving target and maybe allowing allies to shoot through it from the outside would definitely bring it up to snuff in the modern times. Frost 4 is probably my favorite ability of his, Avalanche. Despite it being an expensive ability to cast, it's a pretty solid AoE armor strip with a very high base range and only needing 137 power strength if you're using corrosive projection to fully strip armor. But that being said, you're going to be stacking strength regardless for your bubble. Despite being pure cold damage, it actually has some hands. Armor strip is done 1 second after casting the ability, but right before the massive AoE is done. For those hardly paying attention, that means Unga Bunga big number. Not as strong as other AoE spam abilities, but for what it does, it ain't that bad. You could use the Biting Frost augment to buffer your crit chance and crit damage on that whole room of frozen enemies, but it's already pretty pointless when the entire room is armor stripped. I mean, even the Aclado can wipe the floor with the enemy's own asshole when they have 0 armor. So with that overview, we have 2.5 good abilities and 1 STD of an ability, leaving Frost in a state of It's obvious what DE wants Frost to be, crowd control and defense, and I feel like his kit is varied enough to hold his own in situations that might be better than others in his niche, trade-offs, but he definitely feels like a relic from his era. Ember got synergetic changes with her ultimate, Inferno, along with her immolation making her a force to be reckoned with. Same with Oberon, stripping armor and cleansing teams with carpets. Volt can clear rooms with his ultimate and make his Tesla stronger by casting on rooted enemies. Frost's main synergy seems to be use Snowball on Orb to delete it. DE has tried to help Frost find him that power by giving him utility augments, one that gives him overshield and avalanche, and one that can turn him into a gunzerker on frozen enemies, but nothing really hits home or drastically changes his kit. He's still the defense bitch, and requires a lot of farming to do what others can do with less investment. I'm looking at you, Twinkenstein. So is Frost a top tier pick? No. Is he alright at what he does? Yes. Do players blow his viability out of proportion and act like he can't hold his own on a level 30 defense? Absolutely. Pretty much every frame is Steel Path viable, and not even 5% of you are even gonna make it there anyway. He can do with a few tweaks, making his one combo with his other abilities or making his CC worth a damn in the current Overguard clusterfuck meta. But as he stands, he's okay. Do I recommend putting 2 Umbra Forma on him? Stick it on Loki instead. You will thank me later. Guys, putting on socks can't turn you gay. That's just ridiculous.
Oh, fuck. Oh, your dick is so big. Oh!